Hi everyone. This is kind of a different video that I felt called to do. This is, I guess, an unboxing video of the Sun and Moon Tarot by Vanessa DeCourt. Okay, I just got this. So it's an unboxing, and as well, for whatever reason, I felt prompted to also share how I like to cleanse and consecrate new decks when I get them. So first, let's go to the actual unboxing Sun and Moon Tarot. This is actually a phenomenal deck. So I opened it. I went to one of my local esotericas, as I like to call it, and I picked up this deck because I was looking for a deck that was a little bit more gentle than the Tarot of Sexual Magic to read about love, which I am actually going to do a reading with these cards after this video, so definitely go check that out. So this particular deck here, it's absolutely gorgeous. It comes with, your typical little booklet. But what is different about this is that the explanations that she uses to go through each of these cards is really awesome. When I get a deck that comes with a little book like this, I don't even bother looking at the book because it's usually very generic, but that is really not the case with this deck. And that is not at all where the surprises end. So as you can see, here's the back of the card, a nice mandala, and then a little card about her and where she gets her inspiration. So Vanessa actually uses the Golden Dawn path as far as the inspiration for this deck. And I didn't even realize that when I got it, and I hadn't even read the card just as I was going through it, but I also own the Thoth deck, and it's a very potent deck. It's great if you're looking to study Hermeticism along with the Hermetic deck. But in any case, that's the inspiration for her deck. It says on the card that it's one of the first decks that she ever worked with. Like, that's what she learned on. So it made a huge impression on her. And I can understand that. I actually learned on the weight system of tarot. So I've often been drawn to cards like that. But as I've gone a little deep into, my spirituality and on my path, I've been more and more so drawn to the Hermetic system and the Golden Dawn system effectively, but I haven't actually used the Golden Dawn card. So that's something that specifically anyway. So that's something that I'm, in the works on in the background studying. So in any case, I guess I'll go ahead and just show you a couple of cards. So here's the Fool, which you can actually see on that. So let me show you one that's not on there. So as I was going through this, like the Magician, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So there's definitely lots of sacred geometry emphasis in here. There is Hebrew as well. So there's definitely a Kabbalah element in this deck as well. Actually, I think it states that on the card. Hold on. Yeah, the Thoth Crowley. And then Kabbalism, alchemy, Jungian psychology, astrology, alchemy. Yeah, I mean, this this deck has got it all. And it's interesting because when I was in the store, it's very nondescript. It's not flashy, right? At least not like a lot of other decks. I mean, it's really not flashy at all. But the symbolism in these cards are incredibly potent. Here's the Hierophant. The Lovers. I know I personally appreciate when an artist is inclusive with their decks. For those of you who are new to my channel or new to following me or just haven't picked up on it, I prefer to use decks that are inclusive. You don't just see one shade of color on throughout the entire deck. So I really appreciate artists and makers of the tarot cards, if you will, who choose to make their decks a little bit more inclusive. I also really like the fact that if you look, sorry, try to get up here really close. Oh my gosh, my nail. Don't look at my nail. Um, but if you look really close, there's no facial expression. There's no identifying factors at all. That was the Chariot card, by the way. But there's nothing to show expression or features or anything. It's kind of a shell. Which, what I really like about that is that it allows you to tap into your intuition and visualize what is there. Here's the Death card. So once I came across this card after going through this entire deck, this card blew my mind. I mean, this is how I identify with the Death card. It's transformation. It's not a physical death. It's not something that's bad. It's a necessary change. And that's actually something that I've been anyway talking about in my last few videos. So here's the star. Isn't that beautiful? So yeah, I am pleasantly surprised with this deck and the potency of the images and the symbolism that she uses. Six of Swords. So I would highly recommend, if you are into any of those things that I mentioned, Kabbalah, Golden Dawn version, the Golden Dawn variant of reading tarot, Hermeticism, alchemy, Jungian psychology, any of that, I would highly, highly suggest getting this deck. I mean, it is just, the images are beautiful. Two of Cups. Like, look at that. That's how I see Two of Cups. Let's see here. Four of Wands. And then I'll show you a couple more before I move on to the cleansing portion of this video. Oh, and then my favorite, Queen of Wands, just because she's one of my significators. Look at that. That's totally that bring it bitch energy. Anyways, so I think I'll pull out the Princess of Pentacles because that was another one that I found. Oh, my Sitting Pretty card. Nine of Pentacles. Look at that. Sitting on a half pipe, sniffing sunflowers. Beautiful. So Princess of Pentacles, in this deck, she's actually pregnant. Which is interesting. I've never seen that before. And you see how, like, there's the use of the alchemical symbol up there for Earth. So, yeah. I'm digging this deck for sure. So, to get into how I cleanse my decks, just to share with you, there's a couple of different methods that you can use. So, of course, we have our sage here, and then we've got Palo Santo. Some people like to use a little bit of Florida water, just kind of rub your hands and then like do the sides, pray over the deck. Some people prefer to use stones and let it charge the deck. Okay, so or you can also use larger pieces of salt. This is a Himalayan salt, and you can just use that and let it charge for however long you want, depending on the moon cycle, or just follow your intuition on that. There's some oils that you can use. Now, I'm not talking about like dumping the oils on your deck. Like, please don't do that. That will actually ruin the deck and it'll mark it. But what you can do is you put a little bit on your hands, and then you just get the sides and pray over it. And it really just, it takes only a little bit. So I use sometimes a combination of methods that you see here on my table to do that. Today, I'm actually going to use Palo Santo. That's what I'm called to use to cleanse this deck. And I'm going to choose a crystal to attune it um, to basically program the deck. Okay, so actually, before I get started, so let me cleanse my hands and all that jazz. Okay, so we'll pull out the crystals here in just a moment. So get my Palo Santo lit. It's got to be beet red. So when using Palo Santo to cleanse a deck, you might have to relight it a couple times just because of the nature of the fact that it's wood versus sage, which will continue to burn. Okay, so a couple of different methods. Some people just like to pass the deck over the smoke, hit all sides. I am actually in the camp. I prefer to go through every single card and let the smoke hit every single card. Oh, don't tell me I just marked that. And of course, be careful when playing with fire. So I do this with every single deck that I bring in the house, every single deck. And I do that before I use it, before I shuffle it, before I, pull any cards from it, to figure out what my significator is for said deck. And this is important because on several fronts. So first of all, the production process for tarot cards can leave a lot of energy and not necessarily good energy. And then sometimes it can be how you acquired the deck, who you acquired the deck from. And that can leave an energetic imprint sometimes. So it's up to you how you cleanse your deck, but I would suggest that whenever you get a new deck, you do cleanse it. If you're not in a position where you can really use Palo Santo or sage for whatever reason, or you're having, sorry, 1 second. Oh, there we go. That's nice and lit. So yeah, if you're in a situation where you can't use Palo Santo or sage, I would suggest using a crystal. If you're tight on time, I would say use this method. And again, sorry, what I was going to say is that if you can't use Palo Santo or sage, that you can do the method of using Florida water or a cleansing oil of your choice like Van. You can also attune it to your zodiac energy. As you saw, I had the Aries oil kind of chilling here. Because I'm an Aries, first house sun, and all that stuff. Actually, my birthday was just a couple of days ago on Wednesday, April 17th. It was interesting and quiet, but interesting. So, like I said, there are a couple of options. Like I said, I use a combination of methods. Usually when I'm using Sage or Palo Santo, I will charge my deck with a crystal, whether I use it right away or not. At least the first at least for some period of time. Anyway, I do a lot of very specific charging for the crystals that I use. So when I'm using a crystal to charge my deck, I don't necessarily worry too much about letting it sit on there for very long, because when I get a new crystal, it sits for a full moon cycle before I start working with it. That's just my personal preference. You got to do what resonates with you. So cleansing this deck of all the manufacturing energy, all the hands that have touched it before it's made its way to me. And you don't have to leave it for very long, just enough for the smoke to touch the card, melt away the jujus that are not yours. And plus, it gives the deck a cue that, okay, I've got a new owner now, and now we're together, and now I'm open for programming effectively is what it comes down to. So okay. So I set that aside. Okay. So now let's talk crystals. So like I said, you've got your pink Himalayan salt. This is actually a rough emerald. This is jadeite, malachite. Yes, malachite. More malachite. This is bloodstone, also known as heliotrope. And actually, this is one of my favorite heart-centered grounding stones to work with, just because this particular specimen has multiple colors. So it hits the root chakra, it hits the solar plexus, and it also hits the heart chakra. Oh, and actually there's orange in here too, so it hits the sacral. This is green aventurine, which is really good for luck. We've got green goldstone, which this is a new stone that I'm working with. It's man-made, and I tend to stray away from man-made stones, but I was really drawn to it, so I went ahead and grabbed it anyway when I was in the store. And then we've got carnelian, which is a mix of ground, root, and sacral chakra. And then, of course, the most powerful of them all, quartz. Clear quartz. Okay, so I'm not using all these crystals, but depending on what you want to tune your deck for, what you want to program it for, would be dependent on the deck that you use. So if, for example, you want to focus on grounding and connecting with ancestors, or more so I would say connecting with ancestors, I would actually suggest something like labradorite. It's really good for that. If you're looking to tune into higher self and speak with your guides, I'd say use something like dumortierite. Yeah, dumortierite, which is this. If you're looking to work on your third eye, you could use amethyst. If you're looking to speak specifically with your higher self, this is chalcedony, but you can use pretty much any blue stone. So lapis, sodalite. Sodalite's actually wonderful for connecting with your guides. And if the use of your deck is just general information and protection, you can use black tourmaline, which is what this is. Here we go. Got an aqua aura quartz. No, not an aqua aura quartz. Angel aura quartz, I think. That is what that one's called. That's a fairly new one that I've started working with. You can also go as far as using something as simple as selenite, which is a great cleansing stone, because of the fact that it's salt based. You cannot go wrong with using salt. So even if you can't get a hold of anything but just a nice chunk of Himalayan salt, that's more than enough, okay? So I'm going to put these back in here. So to tune this deck, I'm actually going to use malachite, because this is going to be my love deck. Okay, so I don't do anything super fancy. Thank you for choosing to work with me. I program you for love, all things of the heart, love of self, love of others. So mote it be. Okay, just like that. That's simple. So then, of course, when it's coming out of the manufacturer, it's not shuffled. Everything's in order, and you want to make sure that your deck is properly shuffled. Otherwise, that can affect the reading. And I like to look at shuffling as throwing energy into the deck. It's seeing how it shuffles, how it works. This particular deck is actually really, really easy to shuffle. The cards feel really good on the hands. They're bendy, but I don't know. For me, they're not too bendy. So I do a combination of shuffling many times. And I haven't decided if this is actually, I think this might be a deck that I read in reverse, or that I do reversals on. I haven't quite decided yet. I'll see with the love reading when that pops out, or when I do that, what pops out, how it pops out, what the energy is telling me. And that's another thing too. When you're programming your deck, you can program it to specifically say that I do not, I'm not reading reversals with you. I'm only reading you in the upright. And by doing that, you are programming the deck to give you the correct corresponding cards to your question versus relying on reversals. And again, this is a personal thing. Some people like reversals, some people don't. For me, it's deck dependent. For whatever reason, the few decks that I've run into that use the Golden Dawn system, I don't typically like to do those in reversals. It just doesn't feel right. So whenever I use the Thoth deck, I don't use reversals for that. And realistically speaking, and of course there's several forms of thought on this, is that there's enough cards in a tarot deck that you don't necessarily have to use reversals. Using those is a choice. But because of the fact that there's enough cards within the deck, you can get a very accurate reading using them all in the upright. Okay? So at some point I'll get video editing software so I can cut out stuff like this where I'm just shuffling. But just to show you what I'm doing, especially for some of you newbies out there who are just getting into tarot. You're cruising YouTube, finding or stumbling on tarot reading videos, or you've decided to just take the leap and read yourself, or maybe you haven't read in a really long time but you used to, and there's certain things you're trying to remember. Like, I know for me, I actually started reading the cards when I was 8 years old, and I continued to read the cards up until I graduated high school. And then once I graduated high school, I kind of put them down. I tried once I moved up north for college for a little while, but it just didn't feel right, and I want to say bad things started to happen, and just the energy was weird. So I put them down and never really picked them back up, even though I did try at that time. And then fast forward to 10 years later, picked them back up. Actually, I picked up the Gemstone Tarot deck which looks like this. I use these a lot in my video as clarifiers. I love this deck because I really love working with gemstones. It was the first deck that spoke to me. So yeah, now we are about ready. This is me throwing energy into the deck. So I might do another video about what it means when a deck calls to you. So as you can see, we're not within the same suit. These are properly shuffled now and ready to use. So that is how you attune your deck, and of course a short review on the Sun and Moon Tarot if you want to go ahead and check it out. It was super affordable and super nondescript. It looks like it's not much, but I'm telling you, there is a lot of potent symbolism in this deck, so I would highly suggest going after this deck and checking it out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do and you want to see more stuff like this from my channel, please give me a thumbs up. Share, definitely subscribe to keep up. I do weekly videos, I do monthly videos, and if you're looking for more of the daily flavor, you can check me out over on Instagram at Pages of Ascension. That is all for now. Go ahead and head on over to the next video where I'm actually going to be doing a love reading with this particular deck for the Libra new moon that we have, or excuse me, Libra full moon that we have going on April 19th, 2019. Okay, see you over there.